Sleepyhead.
I'm not letting you go to work today.
Wait, what?
Everybody, listen up.
Welcome to The Drive.
Morning.
You're gonna talk.
Get on the phone at 339-1140.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Jump in on our text line at 441140.
Everyone is talking about it. You must know that.
The Drive starts now.
We'll take your phone calls at 1-800-920-1140. Interesting article on Harry Giles on Sac Town Royalty this morning. I thought this is kind of, I admit, picking and choosing stats here a little bit. Still interesting though, Kyle. The 78 players 6'10 and above. I know. Of the 78 players 6'10 and above who have logged at least 500 minutes this season, Harry Giles is 11th in steal percentage. Other rookies on the list, Mitchell Robinson, who's 12th. Jaren Jackson Jr. is 18th. DeAndre Ayton, 29th. Marvin Bagley is 45th. Wendell Carter Jr., 47th. Mo Bamba, 66th. Their article is about Harry Giles and his defensive potential. In fact, Zach Lowe did a little video series a few days ago where he said Harry looks like a Dementor from Harry Potter with his, he plays with his arms outstretched and is really learning to disrupt passing lanes and people, which is great. Interesting. I'm very intrigued by Harry Giles. By the way, you know what he's averaging points per game?
What's that?
6.9.
Nice.
Hello, Gary. Welcome into The Drive.
He's not a rookie, by the way.
Hey, guys. Hey, Dave, I totally agree with you that Harry has earned some more minutes, and I thought Bagley's unfortunate injury would be an opportunity to see that. But isn't the real issue with that lineup that our coach has not adjusted to moving away from a three-guard offense, even though we finally have a starting small forward?
You're talking about three guard, meaning Fox, Hield, and Bogey?
Well, whether it's Fox, Hield, and Bogey, or whether he's bringing guys off the bench, bottom line is Harrison Barnes is hardly ever playing small forward. He's almost always playing a power forward. And I just think that, we've been so long without having a legitimate starting small forward, and the coach is so into a three-guard, rotation there that he hasn't really made an adjustment and figured out how to, come up with a lineup where he's integrating Harrison Barnes as a small forward. You hardly ever see it.
I agree. I wouldn't say hardly ever, but I think you're seeing a decent split between the 3 and the 4 with Harrison Barnes. And I agree with Gary. I think Harrison Barnes is best at the 3. Obviously, he can play the 4, and a lot of that depends on matchups. Who's matching up with the Kings? A lot of times it's going to dictate where Dave Yeager plays Harrison Barnes. But I think this is a temporary problem. I think Harrison Barnes, or Dave Yeager is doing with Harrison Barnes what he needs to do right now, because Willie Cauley-Stein is really the only true center that's playing. He's got to mix in Nemanja Bjelica, obviously, Harry Giles now, Marvin Bagley. I think this is a temporary issue because I think next season, here, if I have a crystal ball, I think they're going to do everything they can to sign and extend Harrison Barnes, and they're going to bring down that annual value of the contract a little bit to give them a little bit more cap room this summer. And then I think your 1 to 4 is locked. I think you're locked with Fox, Hield, Barnes at the 3, Bagley at the 4. Giles is a tweener. Now, I don't know that Harry Giles is a 4, and I don't think he's a 5. I think he's like a 4.5. And I don't know, even with 20 pounds of muscle on him, he may end up just being a really good size power forward. But I don't know that Giles or Bagley are ever going to be true centers. And I think that's really where the Kings' main focus is going to be in the offseason. I think they're going to be looking at free agency or possible trade, but really free agency. And I think that big focus, that final piece, is going to be bringing in a center that can kind of anchor that middle position, whether it's somebody who defensively can make it happen, or if they're not a top-of-the-line defensive center, it's going to be somebody whose offense and rebounding is going to overcome those issues. Somebody who hopefully has the ability to also pass. And if you can run the offense through, well, now you've got, obviously, De'Aaron you can run the offense through. You've got a guy like Barnes and Buddy that can hang out on the wings and cut all over the place. And then you could play with 2 big men in Giles and whoever you bring in at center. Giles can run the offense as well at the top of the key. I think that's what they want to do.
So you'd want a center averaging maybe like 25 minutes, like 16 points, 8 rebounds, three or so assists. Like that feels like
No,
ideal.
I'd like to see somebody I'd like to see better numbers than that from our center, but especially if that center's not the best defensive player. I know what you're trying to do, and I don't like it because you do those things, and I'm the one who gets the heat on Twitter.
Hey, maybe bang a couple threes now and then. Fiery, passionate attitude.
Listen, man.
I'm talking about Brooke Lopez.
Of course you are.
Relax.
Hey, I've said it from the beginning.
I know.
I've said it from the beginning of the season. I must come out and say it. But I really don't want to. Because I really want to start this in the summertime.
Do you want
having this conversation? Yeah, why don't you do a read?
Okay. It's time to call Sierra Pacific for this winter's best deal on a new furnace. Call Sierra Pacific now, 800-551-3040.
Let me real quick.
Zero.
Let me really,
Interesting number.
Let me real quick get to a phone call. Hi, Ted. Welcome into the drive.
How's it going, guys?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Hey, Ted.
Good. I went to the game last night, and I thought for a Monday night the crowd was really into it against the 13-win team. So you can sense that we're really in the push for the playoffs.
Yep.
With the fans. The chippiness was coming from the Knicks, and I'm actually kind of proud of the way they played. Tisdale was complaining all night though, and but it's nice to see them actually trying, and they were. But that Mitchell Robinson was jamming into Giles all night. And you said you went to the game last night?
I did.
So you saw it. It was like multiple times where he was just slamming into him, trying to move him off the post. Some was normal, but some was a little over the top. And it wasn't just him. There was multiple collisions going on. And, so anyway, I just wanted to say that that's what I saw, and I think it led up to Giles doing what he did, and I think Giles was trying to make a move and not just make an aggressive foul. And there was a foul that didn't get called on the Knicks where one of our guys was going to the hoop, and they didn't call a flagrant, even though it was.
Yep. Are you talking about Corey Brewer?
Yes.
I disagree. I understand where you're coming from. He went
across both arms.
Yeah.
He went across both arms. He was going for the ball.
He got the ball.
Clearly followed.
But he got the ball
on both arms.
But here's the thing. Listen, what you're saying is correct. But he got the ball first. And then came. Honestly, weirdly enough, Ted, and a lot of people disagree with me here, but if I'm being truly honest, the question to me, the argument was not, was that a flagrant foul or not? The argument to me was that a foul or not? I think it was closer to not being a foul at all than it was to a flagrant. It certainly looked bad, and Corey Brewer came down right on his rear end, but contact was made with the ball, and in the course of the follow-through came across both arms. But I thought that was a clean basketball play. That's just my personal opinion.
And when I watched it on the giant big screen at the arena, I agreed with what you're saying. I just thought he followed through in an aggressive enough manner to where it should have been more than a common foul. But we disagree. But that's all right. Yeah. I'm not a person that thinks every single foul should be called.
Sure.
But part of why I called, other than what I just said, was I feel like in the last 5 or 6 games, the refs have really been giving us the rookie team treatment and not giving us calls when we should have them, and calling little chippy fouls against us, almost like trying to get in our head. And the number 14 ref last night was a perfect example. He was making some really, really bad calls. A lot of unhappy fans groaning at a lot of the calls and non-calls. It's part of the growth process. I get it. But it's almost like we were watching a scrimmage rather than a Kings home game. And, I'll leave it at that. I would like to see us get a little bit better. And to your center point, what you're talking about with the center, if we would have kept Zebo and the game gets down slower when we're not running and we had a person we could go to with the ball, no one was better at finishing a play than Zebo. He played like a center. And I know he didn't play all year, and it's tough to just stick him in there. But him or Cantor or somebody else that you can go to for points, even if they're only playing 10 minutes a game, is what we were missing in a lot of these games we let slip away late.
I appreciate it. The problem with Zebo is that he just couldn't run with this team, and I understand half-court sets. Okay, great. Let's put Zebo in there, but he was such a liability on defense. He was such a liability on defense that Joerger just couldn't find time for him at all, and no other team has been able, since he's been gone, no other team has been able to find time for him. Incidentally, I understand what Ted was saying about the refs too, but last 3 games, the numbers, the way they play out, last night the Knicks were called for 25 fouls to the Kings 24. Against the Clippers, the Kings were called for 2 more fouls, 23-25. And against the Bucks, the Kings were called for 1 more foul, 18-19. Now, that doesn't tell the whole story. It doesn't mean Ted's wrong, because there were some very big calls and or no calls that were missed or that were made. For example, the Harrison Barnes charge versus the Clippers. I did not like that call. We also should go back to the Oklahoma City game. Maybe Ted was talking about that far back too. And the fact that there was, 4 or 5 incorrect calls made in the last 2 minutes of that game that went against the Kings. And when you think about it in 2 minutes, that's damn near insurmountable. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Let's go to James. Hello, James. You're on the drive.
Morning, fellas.
Good morning.
I got to agree the foul on Brewer was not a flagrant. I mean, I was watching from home, and at first I was pretty upset when I first saw the foul, but after, listening to Doug and Grant talk and seeing it again, it was definitely clean. I mean, he did get ball. I mean, it was borderline almost a block shot.
Dude, that was right on the side where I was sitting, right on that side. We could hear Corey Brewer slap to the ground, and watching it live, 20 feet from me, I hear the slap, I see the play, and I jumped out of my seat, and because I was going to rush the court, of course. I jumped out of my seat, and I'm like, dude, that, you got to eject this guy. That's ridiculous. You could have just killed Corey Brewer. And then, so not only did I think it was a flagrant foul, I thought the dude should be tossed. But to your point, then I watched the replay. It's like, yeah, actually, that was a really clean play, and unfortunately, or a fairly clean play. And unfortunately, Corey Brewer's momentum just kind of took him in the wrong place, combined with the change of direction through the force of the block.
Into a guy that's twice the size of him, too.
Exactly.
But,
So, point taken.
I actually like Brewer playing. He's a hard-nosed player. He gets after it, and I think that it's kind of a mix-up he's quick and he runs good with the Kings, but getting him in there, he can do some things that other players can't do. He's a lot more aggressive, in my opinion. I like the way he's been playing. We'll see how it plays out going forward, and I'm glad they kept him on.
I am too, and I think what Corey Brewer does that is a little bit of a rarity for this team. He's got that dog in him. He's got that veteran, a little bit of a pit bull in him, where he's just going to get in guys' ears. He's going to get in their heads. He's not afraid to mix it up. He's chippy, but not in a dirty way. He's a hustler, and I don't mean like he's going to take your money. I mean, the guy's going to hit the floor for every loose ball. He's going to dive into the stands. He's that type of player that we hear in Sacramento. He's a blue-collar player, and those goggles don't hurt either. He is a blue-collar player, and in Sacramento, that's the type of player that we've always kind of latched on. And he's a good story, too, signed for the rest of the season. Good morning, Sherwin. Welcome into the drive.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good, buddy.
All right. Dave, I totally agree with you regarding Giles. I would love to see a stat on, how we are when he's on the floor. We get more rebounds. I think you got to focus on Willie Cauley-Stein. I mean, whenever Giles is on the floor, I think we get better rebounding, and I think the two more important aspects are better passing at the post. In addition to that, he's not afraid to take a shot in the paint, whereas I don't see Willie doing that. He always wants to either dunk it or lay it up. So I would love to see Giles play more because we're better with him, but also when Bagley comes back, frankly, I think you take Willie off the bench. Anyways.
Listen, here's the problem. It is a catch-22 for Dave Joerger. We've talked about putting Willie on the bench before, but if you put Willie on the bench, you worry about him completely checking out. Willie really is, other than Kosta Koufos, the only true center on this team. I don't know that Giles and Bagley and Bielitsa can maintain that center position in a rotation for big long games, especially when you're going up against guys that are tremendous players at the center position. That would just eat them up. I mean, it works with certain matchups. It worked last night, for example, but I'm just looking at the schedule here real quick. Al Horford's a guy that's going to eat us up, and we've got him twice. Joel Embiid is a guy that's probably going to eat us up, and we've got him. There's a Lopez brother in there somewhere, I'm sure. DeAndre Ayton down the road. Probably not Anthony Davis. Clint Capella coming up twice more in Houston. Rudy Gobert. I mean, that's just the remainder of the year, and we're talking 19 games. That's a lot of beef at center. That if you're playing a smaller rotation without Willie Cauley-Stein, Willie at the very least, and this is, I don't mean any disrespect by this. I have more respect for Willie as a player than this,
Sure.
but at the very least, Willie is 6 fouls. At the very least, Willie Cauley-Stein is 6 fouls.
Right. Just to go back to what Sherwin was saying, the numbers don't quite flesh out what he said about the Kings being better with Giles on the floor. But that's has a lot to do with who Giles plays with.
Agreed.
And I would be interested to look lineup by lineup. I'm not doing that right now, but just to give you an idea, the Kings' offensive rating, points per 100 possessions with Willie Cauley-Stein on the floor is 115, which is dynamite. It's 101 with Giles. Their defensive rating, points allowed per 100 possessions, is 107 with Willie on the floor, 108 with Giles.
Okay.
Willie's rebound percentage, so total number of available rebounds that the team grabs all that players on the floor. Willie's offensive, defensive, and total rebound numbers are up from Giles, but the assist percentage goes up 2 full points with Giles on the floor.
He's clearly a better passer. He's clearly a better shooter.
Yes, and his usage rate is 5 points higher than Willie's.
They
can put the ball in his hands and run an offense through him.
Somebody took the time. It's a very small sample size. Let's say that right out of the bat.
Okay.
But we're talking the last 3 games really with Giles.
Okay.
56 minutes, 50 points on 66% shooting, 19 boards and 6 assists. That's Harry Giles in the last 3 games. Willie Cauley-Stein in 90 minutes, 56 to 90 minutes, 35 points, 48% shooting, 28 rebounds, 7 assists. Giles is just, that does not tell the whole story.
He's been playing really well.
He has.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see the numbers I just read off over the last 10 games.
From the 916, bro, what are you talking about? Most of those dudes you mentioned will eat Willie Cauley-Stein up as well. I'm not saying that in the defense of Willie Cauley-Stein. I'm saying they may end up eating up Willie less than some of these other guys. And again, if nothing else, Willie can put them on the line. That's what I'm saying. This is not in defense of Willie Cauley-Stein's defense. Although 48th in the league in defensive rating. Not great.
When he had that block, I think it was on Harold the other night, where he literally just took it away midair. That was awesome.
That was awesome. And Willie was very active in the first half. I think he had both the steals. I know he had one right out of the gate in the first quarter. And when he's active and waving those arms around like that, that's when he's his best. Hello, Nathan.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, you know what? I'm a little confused. We started the season with, I want to talk about the backup point guard position. I texted about it earlier. It's been bothering me because we started a little bit with Frank Mason, with Yogi Ferrell, then we went to Frank Mason for 10 or 15 games, whatever it was. Then we went back to Yogi Ferrell. What has Yogi Ferrell done in the last 5 games? And with the caveat, I didn't watch the whole game last night, but I know leading up to that game, it's like, dude, Frank Mason is a knockdown shooter, and is not a bad defender. You're not giving up much. If a guy's in a slump, coach has got to let Frank Mason get in there. I think that's where the drop-off is. You see it with all these games. And to me, it was really glaring against Drew Bledsoe. I mean, mind you, Drew Bledsoe is a really good point guard, but still, he was just
good quarterback, too.
You meant Eric Bledsoe, but I understand what he was saying. Kyle was being very mean. Eric Bledsoe. And here's the thing. Last 5 games, I won't bother giving you the stats. He's ranged from 2-4 to 9 points. He had 9 points versus Milwaukee. I think Yogi Ferrell and Frank Mason are almost interchangeable. I don't think either of them are in the future of this team. Again, I would count both those guys as 2 guys that likely won't be back next year. I think we talked about center by far being the biggest need for this team in the offseason. I also think they're going to want to grab a solid backup point guard. You saw sniffs of that when you were hearing Jeremy Lin's name rolled around a little bit. They're probably going to go for a bench point guard as their second biggest priority this summer. And
Frank Mason being a knockdown shooter is a just lie.
And
false.
And also,
I know that's probably maybe the perception because that guy remembers maybe like a specific game or something.
Right.
But Yogi Ferrell shooting 36.4% from three this year. Frank Mason 22%. He's 11 of 50 from three. That's not a knockdown shooter.
And I don't even want to get into Frank Mason's defense, which through no fault of his own, he tries his ass off.
There's a reason not a lot of guys under 6 feet make it in the NBA.
Right. I love Frank. I absolutely love Frank.
Frank
Mason.
is fantastic.
He's awesome. I just don't know. He's 24 years old. He's 5'11". I just don't see him in the future with this team.
Inserting Frank Mason into the rotation isn't going to win the Kings a bunch of games.
No. We'll take a break.
Especially when Yogi Ferrell is a better player.
I didn't get to this yesterday, Kyle. Kareem sold his memorabilia that we talked about last week. And I want to tell you what he sold it for. Also, let's get into some of these strange NFL Combine questions. I need to know more why this happens. Right here on The Drive, Sports 1140 KHTK.
So I have to say anything Dave writes on this script.
That's right.
Here we go. Banana, toaster, monkey, parrot, turtle.
Yep.
This guy's an idiot.
You're an idiot.
My God, he's dumb.
You're dumb.
More of The Drive now.
Roasted. Final half hour of the program. Thank you to the voice guy letting us have some fun. We will be, just as a reminder, we will be in Mesa, Arizona next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from A Spring Training, where it is currently, as of last night when I looked, Kyle, we had rain on the schedule for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. All 3 days we're scheduled to be down there in Phoenix. Looking at the schedule again. Oh, okay. Rain Monday, rain Tuesday. Now it's a sunshiny for Wednesday. Rainy cloud Monday, Tuesday, sunshiny for Wednesday. So we will see.
Yeah, but there's a new Game of Thrones trailer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that exciting to you?
Yeah. Jay and I turned off the lights in the studio so we could get a good view of it during the break.
Oh, that just come out today?
Yeah.
Ooh.
30 minutes ago.
Also, I've determined with my family who have seen bits and pieces, starting this Sunday, we're going to start a stretch where we're going to watch all of the Marvel movies in order. Leading up to, because they've only seen, like, my kids have only seen like 3 or 4. My wife's seen like 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to start them because they're fun movies.
They're very fun.
And then lead that into the final Avengers, and then we'll all go see it in the theater. It's like a little family activity. We'll try to sneak in Captain.
Okay, see, I thought you were going to try and do it in time for Captain Marvel, which comes out Thursday. I was like,
no, that won't happen. But interestingly enough, I Googled what order to watch them in. Funny enough, the Captain America movie was actually recommended to be the first one, even though it was not the first of the movies. I believe that was Iron Man, and maybe even Iron Man 2. But they say Captain America first because of when it took place, and then it kind of sets up everything else.
Sure.
So we'll see. Kyle, we do this every year. We talk about this. The media does, especially. The NFL Combine is, weird, but fun. But we always hear about these questions. We heard about the guy yesterday who was asked by a team if he still had both his testicles. I'm not making that up. We heard about the guy who, Seattle, once again, they did this last year, put him into a staring contest. I want to give you some of the questions from the past just to remind you of some of these questions that have been documented to be asked in these combines. I'm going to give that to you in a couple minutes. Right now, though, we've got ourselves a little bit of fun here. Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Coors Light.
It's time for the Coors Light Cold Hard Fact of the Day. Here's Kyle Madsen.
Hi, Kyle.
We talked earlier about the Suns beating the Bucks twice this season.
Mm-hmm.
The Suns completed a sweep of the Bucks, the 114-105 win last night. This is via ESPN Stats and Info. The only teams that haven't beaten the Suns this season, there are 2 teams in the association who have not beaten the Suns. The Bucks are one of them, with the NBA's best record.
Okay.
And the New York Knicks with the NBA's worst record.
That's interesting. Wow. The Knicks you can understand.
Right. The Bucks I do not understand.
That is interesting.
Okay. Let's get to
Okay.
some
That's a good, you know what? Heck of a stat, Kyle.
Thanks, man.
Thank you to Coors Light for that. Here are some questions that have been asked in the past at the NFL Combine. Do you find your mother attractive?
Weird.
Very weird. You may remember Eli Apple was asked, according to him, by the Falcons, do you like men? You know, I'm not a kid anymore, and I don't know what I would say if I was back then. It's always easy to sit here and come up with answers when you're not in the moment. But I feel like if I was at the Combine and I was asked if I like men, I'd say, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a bunch of friends.
So my best friends are men. What's the question? When did you lose your virginity? Is your mother a prostitute? That was asked famously to Des Bryant.
Des Bryant, right.
What's your murder weapon of choice? I remember this one from last year.
These hands.
The question, I think, more specifically was, would you choose a gun or a knife?
Oh, yeah.
And I understand the psychology behind it. I very much do.
Sure.
A gun is less personal. Knife is up close. I've never murdered anyone, nor do I plan on it, but I imagine that's the psychology behind it. Would you rather be a cat or a dog? Now, obviously, dogs are better than cats, and we've established that many times on the show, despite your arguments. But I'd probably rather be a cat. They live longer, and they don't have to do anything.
Yeah, they just chill.
Do what I want. Cat.
They just sleep and eat.
Where are you sitting on a bus that's speeding on a mountain?
So either cliffside or mountainside?
I don't know, but I would say that I would sit in the back right of the bus. In other words, the seat furthest from the driver, because I feel like that's the side most likely to go over the cliff. But also depends on what side the cliff's on, too, to your point.
Right.
But since we drive on the right side of the road here, I would think the cliff would be on the left.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Where does this...
I would sit in the driver's seat in that situation because I'm getting everybody on that bus to safety.
That's a great point right there. Oh, that's a great answer, too.
Thank
I would
you.
take control. Where does the sun rise and where does it set?
The sky in both cases. I don't...
Well, right. Well, it rises in the east, sets in the west is
Right.
the whatever answer. Would you share your internet history with us? Has been asked.
I mean, sure.
I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would. And I don't really have anything to hide. I mean, I've got the same stuff on my internet history most of you have.
Sure.
But it's almost like, no, I won't. I won't. That's my business. And I'm not a pushover.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
deal. Sorry. No. What color is chocolate?
Brown.
Okay, but there's white chocolate too, right?
Yes, but if you had said what color is white chocolate, then I would have told you.
Boxers or briefs?
Boxers.
Boxer briefs. Yeah.
Actually, that's the tip I'm on.
Remember this question?
With the MeUndies?
How many ways could you use a brick in a minute? Didn't we do a timer with you?
Yeah, I think so.
What team do you pick in Madden? What kind of fish are you?
What team do you pick in Madden is fascinating. What if I said I don't play Madden?
There you go. So I don't like to play video games. I like to actually play the games.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of clowns?
Yes.
Like, yeah, I'm looking at one.
Oh!
Should these questions be outlawed?
No.
Are they necessary?
Probably not.
Why are they necessary in the NFL, but either we don't,
I don't
hear
because
about
the
them
NFL because the NFL is full of weirdos, dude, who think that they know psychology because I've played the game.
Why are these questions asked in baseball or basketball?
Because the physical and mental strain isn't quite the same. It's a very football likes to set itself apart as a athletic competition and as a sport. And it's very different. It's obviously much more physical than either baseball or basketball. But there's this feeling of control, I guess, and this fall in line mentality. that if you answer one of these out of the, like, just totally random out of the blue questions in a certain way, I guess, maybe they think they can determine. It's like teams trying to outsmart other teams or something. I don't know. It's just weird. It's very strange.
Weird. It's weird, and I don't like it.
I don't think you should outlaw it, but I think that you'll start seeing teams that don't do that. Probably. I think once it becomes popular to not do it, and teams realize, hey, we can make educated draft picks without being ridiculous, it'll go away.
I think I'd feel a lot better if a team brought in an independent psychologist.
Yes.
To sit down with every player that they want to talk to and spend 10 minutes with them and just ask them some basic psychology questions, do a Rorschach test, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
Rather than assistant coach Fred Doolittle,
right?
Offensive line coach asking him if his mother's a prostitute.
Right.
I'm not really comfortable with that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, Frank, is your mom a prostitute? No. Why? What? Why not? How do you know? Are your kids yours?
Right.
Do you know that
like,
for
how
a fact?
about I interview you?
Yeah, exactly. Let's go stepbrother style, panned. You know what I'm saying?
If someone says yes to my mother as a prostitute, does that affect their draft stock? That's my question.
That's a great point, Jay.
Are you going to not draft someone because their mom's a prostitute?
That's a great point. It might even improve their stock for me. Wow. You grew up in a really rough situation like that. Your mother was a prostitute, yet you were able to overcome any perceived issues you might have had. And you're sitting here right in front of me having gotten out of college and you're on the cusp of being in the NFL. Good for you. Again, are your kids yours? Do you have any kids? Yes. Are they yours? Yes. Are you sure? How are you sure? Really, how are any of us sure? I don't know. I assume my kids are mine. I'm very confident my kids are mine.
Confident they're great.
I've never done a DNA test. I've never done a DNA test on my children. I don't know. I think so.
Hey, look at who's on the phone.
What the heck is that?
I have no idea. It's terrifying, though. I don't like it.
Really terrifying. Also, Kyle, do you remember the question? I know we got to go. Do you remember the question that David Stern famously asked Jim Rome on his show? One of the greatest questions of all time when it comes to these types of things.
Oh, yes.
Jim, do you still beat your wife?
It's like, oh, my
David Stern was a freaking master because you're trapped, right? It's not about that. And he's not making light of domestic violence. The point is, if the answer is no, so you used to?
Right.
Obviously, if the answer is yes, it's a whole new. That's the type of thing. I just have a little bit of an issue with the application of this stuff, but that's a conversation for another day. What's on tap is next, right here on Sports 1140 KHTK.
It's the end of the show, but it's the start of your workday. For a cold one, it's What's on Tap. Here's What's on Tap.
What's on tap? Brought to you by
Rorschach tests.
Rorschach tests. You thought it was just an ink blot. Nope. Then you failed. Look at that sheet. Tell them what that ink blot is, and that apparently is going to tell you what type of person you are. Rorschach tests. Get yours today. What's on tap tonight? Not much. I mean, really, you've got basketball. As far as basketball that affects the Kings, Thunder at Timberwolves, one game to keep an eye on. The Celtics are playing the Warriors tonight. That was a marquee matchup at the beginning of the year. Now it's a question of, are the Celtics going to figure it out? And all Kings fans, I think, are sitting here wondering, we know they're going to figure it out. We know exactly when they're going to figure it out.
On the back end of a road back-to-back.
On the back end of a road back-to-back. It's going to be a second game of back-to-back Wednesday versus the Kings.
Did you see the line on this game tonight?
Golden State's favored by 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think that's high?
I think that's a lot of points.
Do you? Well, to put
Kyrie picks it up a little against the Warriors.
Yeah. And to give you perspective, the Kings were favored, at least when I looked at it yesterday, by 11.5 over the Knicks. 8 points. Now, the other thing, too, is that the Warriors are pretty good at smelling blood. And they might see I don't think playing the Warriors is where you should go to find yourself if you're an NBA team.
No, but the Warriors haven't looked great the last few weeks.
Right.
And Like I said, Kyrie gets up for the Celtics a little bit, and the Celtics match up really well with them. The Warriors, to a man, twice, I think it's been Marcus Thompson from The Athletic, has gone around and kind of asked the Warriors who they think their biggest threat is, and multiple times throughout the year, they continue to say the Celtics.
Interestingly enough, I agree with you. In fact, the Warriors have lost 4 of their last 10, which for the Warriors is a huge deal.
Right.
They're 2 games ahead of the Nuggets. They were just neck and neck. In fact, the Nuggets, I think, were a half game ahead in the last week or so. The Nuggets have lost 3 in a row, including last night against the Spurs in San Antonio by 1 point when they had 3 chances to win the game. As far as affecting the playoffs, again, I'll be watching that Celtics-Warriors game. Timberwolves will host the Oklahoma City Thunder.
They're rooting for like 10 overtimes.
Seriously. Like, no doubt. I think that was a big part of the reason why the Kings were able to steal that game in Oklahoma City. Was because of their game against Utah the previous night. Was that a double overtime game, I think? It was a big deal. Yeah. You in my opinion, we talked about this yesterday, to make the playoffs, you've got to go 8-2 over the next 10, or it's really hard. And to me,
9-1 would be even harder.
To me, a big part of that is, I think the first test within that 8-2, you've got to take one of the following games: home Boston, at Philly. Those are the 3 toughest games they have, really, in the next 9. 8-2 counted the next game last night, so they're already 1-0. So out of the next 9, you got to go 7-2 now. Okay, great. But I
don't think it's totally unrealistic that they get 2 of those games you just mentioned.
When you say totally unrealistic, like, I don't think it's impossible.
Right.
I think Philly's going to destroy them in Philly.
Okay.
I have a really hard time believing the Kings could beat the Celtics twice within a week.
Okay.
Home and road.
Okay.
Not impossible. I'd love for you to be correct. Well, not correct. You're not saying it's going to happen. You're saying it's not as unlikely as some might think.
Yeah, I don't think if they beat the Celtics tomorrow, or let's say they lose to the Celtics tomorrow, I don't think that you're going, oh, there's 0-3 for sure against those two. Like, I don't know. They seem to play Philly really well, and I'm not sure what space Boston is in right now. Just saying, don't write off 2-1.
From the 530, What's on Tap, brought to you by Boogie Boards. If you want to look like a wiener in the ocean, use a Boogie Board. I'd take exception to that. I love Boogie Boards.
I bet you do.
No. I'm not letting you millennial this. Listen to me. I don't know how to surf.
I don't think you. Go ahead.
I don't know how to surf.
Sure, same.
So, you know what I can do with a boogie board? I can tie the little thingy to my wrist. I can swim. I can doggy paddle my boogie board out to the wave, and then I can ride the wave in on the boogie board. That's fun.
Uh-huh.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Then why do you look like a wiener if you're on a boogie board?
I didn't say that.
That guy did.
Oh, okay.
What am I missing? I'm missing something.
Mm-hmm.
Am I missing something you can say on the air?
Yes, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
But you're a big fan of the boogie board.
Oh. Yeah, about 12 or 13 of them. I see what you're doing there. Huge fan of the boogie board.
Yeah.
From the 916, from Big Dave in Sacramento. What's up, Dave? I saw you and your family at the game last night. Good-looking family, by the way. Thank you. That's the mom. I tried to call, but no answer. Dave, your shoe game is like mine. Where did you get your Marvin Bagley Pumas at? Green, black, and pink. Those are sick. Thank you. Well, I got them online. And I got a lot of crap for those shoes last night. I refused to take it. I'm sorry.
Those are good shoes.
Thank you.
Strong shoes.
There's a line of demarcation I can always tell on Twitter.
You said line of demarcation twice today.
Line of demarcation? There's always that line.
Line of DeMar DeRozan.
I wasn't thinking that.
I know you weren't.
I know. I can always tell the older people.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guys that wear the Steph Curry Chef Lows, those are the ones that say those shoes were atrocious. Like the younger crowd gets it. They understand. That's the one anomaly about me. I am an old man. In fact, somebody took a picture of me last night. It was like a real good high-res picture of me walking, and it was like a close-up on my face, which is scary by itself. But with this damn playoff beard, dude, I look like I'm freaking...
A lot of gray happening.
I look like I'm 50.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. I cannot wait to get rid of this thing. But get off me about the shoes. The shoes were great.
And you have strong shoe game.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar put a bunch of memorabilia up, not all of it, but hundreds of pieces of memorabilia, including 4 of his NBA championship rings, up for auction last week. We talked to you about that. Raised $2.8 million for his Skyhook Foundation, which raises money for students to learn science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, as it's called. The basketball memorabilia went for a minimum of $35,000. The minimum bid on the 85 championship ring was $65,000. His 87 ring fetched the highest price, selling for just under $400,000. Yo, sell the goggles, Kareem. Sell the goggles, dude. That's what I want. Isn't that what you want? Isn't that really the cool? Wouldn't that be the most likely accessibly priced item? I mean, it's still going to be out of my range. But the goggles. I want a pair of Kareem goggles.
That'd be sick. I wonder if he's like, Dave, please. Like, he has a whole display case for his goggles.
What if he only...
He's like, yeah, and I want someone to sell me the Hope Diamond.
What if he only used one pair of goggles his whole career and we just never knew? It was like the same pair of goggles.
He's like, yeah, I threw them away after my last game.
From the 530, boogie boards are for people afraid of surfing. Yeah, okay, I'll wear that. That's fine.
Bro, I won't even go in the ocean. I watched the first 2 episodes of the BBC Ocean documentary. Mm-hmm. I'm out on the ocean. I'll hang out at the beach. I'll put my toes in the sand.
I'll go in the shallow part of the ocean.
I'm going no deeper than like my ankles.
Really?
Yeah.
Got bit by a jellyfish in Mexico.
Yeah, see, pass.
Here's the thing. When you're in the ocean, you are the ultimate visiting team.
Yes, you are at a disadvantage.
Yes.
Me v. shark on land, I'm winning because I can stand there until shark runs out of air.
Correct.
Me v. shark in water, I'm done in however fast the shark wants me done. Whether it's a baby shark, a mommy shark, daddy shark.
All they have to do is pull you underwater. They don't even have to. All they have to do is just pull you underwater. I can't fight. Imagine trying to fight something in an atmosphere that you can't, breathe in.
And that's just it. That's why I won't mess with the ocean. Even the weakest fish, if it wants to fight me, is it a total advantage?
I disagree. Oh, come on, dude. Like one of those little tropical fish. I will kick a tropical fish. I'm just saying. But you could have something that's the size of a tropical fish that has like poisonous tentacles on it.
Or teeth.
What, an eel? Have you seen an eel?
Yeah, they're terrifying. They're water snakes.
I won't eat an eel. I don't even care if it's the greatest tasting thing in the world because of how weird it looks.
Yeah, bro. Nah. Miss me with the ocean.
Sorry. You
ever seen Jaws?
Yeah.
You know how to prevent that? Don't go in the ocean.
Jaws would not have gotten anyone at a Starbucks. Yep. Fact. Thanks to Jay Marshall, Kyle Madsen. Thank you to me. You're welcome. Remember, guys, it's me, not we. Jim Rome is next. Enjoy the rest of your broadcast day right here on Sports 1140 KHTK. Bye-bye now.